Hello and welcome to current year. Last time we hadn't actually reached the current year, so finally we're gonna get to it now. This is a review of highlights and things that I've noticed happening in the current year as it's progressed. And we have now crossed the threshold, or we're about to cross the threshold from December 30th to January 1st. I'm not going to do this day by day, by the way. I'm just going to do it as events happened that are commentable, I guess. First, we're going to start with a video released on December 30th, 2016, so still not quite the current year, but you could argue that this was New Year's Eve about to turn into New Year's Day. This is the new 80s, a video by DrRandomercam, in which he explains why he thinks that what's been going on in the past year is actually mimicking things that have gone on a long time ago in some sort of repeating cycle. And things are very similar in how they play out, and it sort of evokes a familiarity of another time. Are we going through the same things over and over again in a different order? Anyway, I'll leave him to explain.
Then you had an awesome year. In a few, perhaps coincidental ways, it does feel like we're at the dawn of the new 80s. Instead of Ronald, we've got Donald. Instead of Thatcher, we've got Theresa. And instead of Trudeau, we've got Trudeau. Like I say, possibly all coincidences, and maybe it'll only be 4 years this time. But this time, it's not set to the backdrop of the Cold War. Back then, the liberal crusaders of the left were interested in getting us out of a Cold War with Russia. This time, they're more interested in getting us into a hot one. And in the meantime, there's hot and cold running war in the Middle East. None of us can even remember if we're still supposed to be at war with one of those dudes. And last time around, we were also busy engaging in the business of perhaps overcompensating by encouraging communist ideas to flourish in our institutions. And this time around, we're busy engaging in the business of perhaps overcompensating by encouraging jihadist ideas to flourish in our institutions. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit worried about what kind of useful idiots we're going to grow in the next 30 years. But don't panic. The 80s was a time of reinvention, of science fantasy and cyberpunk, of video games and alternative comedy and pirate radio, and some exceptionally bad music and some exceptionally good music. Some exceptionally, shall we say, unforgettable music. It was when a generation, a very splintered generation, stood up and said, the establishment doesn't represent me, so I'm going to do my own thing. It's all happening in a different order now, and different arrangement regarding the colour schemes. Like I said, it might be shorter, it might be 1 term rather than a 3-term reign, but it'll burn 3 times as bright. These things do progress in cycles, but the cycles either spiral in or spiral out. It either tapers to a point where we're all changing our minds constantly, or it opens out to an infinity where we never change our minds. And that might be because we got the answer right, or it might not.
So that's DrRandomercam. He's a very talented dude, especially with words and with music, and you should really watch the rest of that video, especially past the 10-minute mark, because it does get kind of heartfelt towards the end to his fans and people who've supported him. And that was a year summing up, so he's saying, you know, it happens in cycles. It feels like some of this stuff has repeated itself since the 80s, and with a lot of the regressing ideas that have come about, it does feel like we're going backwards in time and repeating things. Nazism, communism, segregation, all these things are repeating themselves. New Year's always seem a bit weird to me now. I used to, I guess, celebrate them more. Like, New Year's Eve was more exciting in the past, and now it's just like, I've realised that these are weird landmarks in time that humans set up, and I guess the most interesting of it is that it takes 1 year for us to do a complete cycle of the sun. So, geographically, we're in vaguely the same place. I mean, relative to the sun, but not relative to anything else, because obviously the spiral arms of the Milky Way are always moving as well, so technically we're not in the same place at every New Year's Day, but that's the most interesting part of New Year's Day, I think. Apart from that, humans stamp anniversaries on everything that they don't need to. There must be a day for every kind of thing these days, like there's a Woman's Day, there's a Father's Day, there's a Mother's Day, there's a day for one pride, a day for another pride, a birthday, Easter. We're commemorating things that happened in the past, like it's been 70 something years since end of World War II, 100 years since World War One. Okay, I'm quite fascinated by that kind of anniversary. 100 years, 100 orbits of the sun since World War One. And that's going to be going for another 2 years, obviously, until 1 year actually, 2018, 1918, 2018. I'm going off topic here, but it's fascinating looking at 100-year-old photos and learning that today was the anniversary of, like, the first ever, or not today, but like sometime last week was the anniversary of the first ever bombing raid by an aircraft on ground targets, and that was a World War One thing. But apart from that, anniversaries kind of piss me off because they're making anniversaries for everything now. I mean, there's 365 days, and you're stamping some sort of commemorative meaning onto every day. Eventually you're going to have more things you want an anniversary for than there are days in the year. So one day will have multiple anniversaries. Or, you'll only have an anniversary in certain circles of people. It's just daft. Like, can we cut it out with these kind of markings of time? I don't know. They're useful for some things, but not useful for other things, and it just kind of annoys me that there's always a day for, like, a world something day, world fucking snooker day, I don't know, the world paella day, whatever there is. People just seem to come out with more anniversaries every day. Oh, we need a day for this thing. No, you don't. Fuck you. The next video I find interesting is of January this current year, and it's from Mr. Sargon of Akkad, or rather his third channel, which I think provides a better insight into what I think his character is behind the scenes, which is Ancient Recitations is the channel name, and it's his history channel. And detractors of Sargon always take the piss of him, saying like, you don't know shit about Islam, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you hate immigrants, you hate, all this crap, like you don't understand Muslims and all this stuff. And in the end it's all kind of nonsense arguments, because Sargon of Akkad called himself that name because he was interested by the lessons you could learn from history, and his detractors often don't seem to learn any lessons from history. And this is a video called The Prophet Muhammad's Last Sermon. I mean, you can see for yourself that those ideas that people insult him with aren't even really true.
Beware of Satan, for the safety of your religion. He has lost all hope that he will ever be able to lead you astray in big things, so beware of following him in small things. O people, it is true that you have certain rights with regards to your women, but they also have rights over you. Remember that you have taken them as your wives only under Allah's trust and with his permission. If they abide by your right, then to them belongs the rights to be fed and clothed in kindness. Do treat your women well, and be kind to them, for they are your partners and committed helpers. and it is your right that they do not make friends with anyone whom you do not approve, as well as never to be unchaste. O people, listen to me in earnest. Worship Allah, say your 5 daily prayers, fast during the month of Ramadan, and give your wealth in zakat. Perform Hajj if you can afford to. All mankind is from Adam and Eve. An Arab has no superiority over a non-Arab, nor a non-Arab has any superiority over an Arab. Also, a white has no superiority over a black, nor a black has any superiority over white, except by piety and good action.
So check that out. The clip is a little longer than what I've shown there. The point is, Sargon has a very good understanding of history. And I think that's a very important and valuable thing, that people actually go through history, go through the timeline of not only mankind, but of natural history. And if you combine those two things, they're calling it big history now, and I think that is a very worthwhile thing, to not only chronicle human history, which has just been what history is up till now in schools and things. I say up to now, up to maybe a few years ago. But, learn the history of mankind, which, by the way, has nothing to do with maleness. Mankind is short for humankind. It contains women as well. If you were thinking that, which I'm sure most skeptical people aren't, learn what you can from history. Read from timeline, the creation of Earth to the present day. Try and make sense of what you can. Just look at all the events in order. Even if it's just highlights of the events, you get an understanding. Although always know that once you've read the highlights of year 0 to current year, there's still more to learn, because you can go deeper into those events, and you can go to different places in the globe during those events, and something else will be happening you didn't know. You can learn a lot from history about how to act in the present or in the future. And now, at this part of the month, there was a Trump inauguration, so for a bit of fun, this clip emerged showing one of these typical really overblown SJW overreactions, and I think it was staged actually. The actual clip is this girl kneeling down in this open space during the Trump inauguration, and she's screaming in this crazy over dramatic way. And I think there are clips on the internet where the same thing has been shot, but it's 3 cameras back, and you can see that it's kind of a setup and staged, and that there were some it looked like there were some friends working with her to make the shot look like that. But there's been so many things like Trigglypuff and so many examples of SJWs acting in this overblown, over-emotional way, genuinely. I think this might be genuine, but it might also be, I say genuine, it's the amount of emotion she injects into the situation is so fake. Anyway, let's watch the clip. Clapperboard here. Looks up at her mate. Is it time yet? Okay, yeah. So that is just, I think it's been faked this time. I think it might be her kind of jumping on the bandwagon after seeing all these overblown SJWs and making a fake one. But that's just my perception of it. It might be real as she reacts to this thing in a non-setup way, but somehow I don't think so. But everyone on the internet who isn't affiliated with the SJWs jumped on the clip and made lots of abusing reaction things. So here's some. It's just a stereotypical thing to shout in a movie, isn't it? No, I bet there are thousands of movies that have that. I even made a short one, although I kind of played it as an SJW being triggered by Sargon. And then the most funny one that I found, I think, was done by Cheshire Cat Studios, who we're going to talk about briefly in a minute to end this, and they posted this one. So that Darth Vader scream at the end of what's it called? Revenge of the Sith, that awful Episode 3 movie. Yeah, I didn't really like that movie. I'm sure there are a couple of bits in it that were fun, but mostly, I don't know if I'm going to do a review of it, but awful movie. And the bit where Darth Vader screams, "No, whoa, whoa!" Everyone just mocks the fuck out of that thing, and rightly so. That was Cheshire Cat Studios who did that, and as soon as they posted that video, some of their fans got insanely triggered. Like, I don't know how though, because if you've seen Cheshire Cat's videos before, you know that they're kind of against SJWs and the regressive left. And if I was the Cheshire Cat guys, these are a bunch of friends who run a podcast, talk about film culture, gaming culture. If I was the Cheshire Cat guys, I'd be like, what? Have you been watching our material these past few years? I'd be, just amazed that they got any backlash, to be honest, from fans. As an example, here's something Cheshire Cat released immediately afterwards, in which they talked about Amy Schumer being cast to play a plus-size Barbie in a movie, which was set to come out. I don't know if that's still happening, but this goes with the regressive left ideology in as much as fat shaming and the fat acceptance. I'm against bullying of fat people, and actually Daz Black does a really good video on this. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, you shouldn't bully someone for being overweight, but also you shouldn't accept overweightness if you are overweight, because being overweight leads to an early death. It leads to many different kind of medical problems. It's something you need to be encouraged at least to get better from. And the fat acceptance is sort of pushing for the opposite of that. Like, accept that there are fat people in life. Big is beautiful. People should glamorize fatness. The fat acceptance movie is obviously against bullying fat people, but so are the people who are against the fat acceptance movement. To be honest, they just have some screwed up views that you should glamorize overweightness when it is physically unhealthy for you to remain that way. Anyway, that was just a messy bite of what the fat acceptance movement is, and this is Cheshire Cat Studios Podcast.
Because here's the thing. And I'm gonna just call it right now, the end of the movie is gonna be nothing but Amy Schumer, who, from what I understand, she's playing like an outcast Barbie, an outliner of some sort. She's not as pretty as the rest of them, which is why she gets excommunicated from the Barbie world. She gets transported into our world, where she has a journey of self-discovery, and she learns that, and she returns back to her own universe, and she makes this enormous speech to the rest of her sisters about how it's not the looks that matter, it's what's really on the inside. Here's my issue with that. When she's going to be talking about her intrinsic qualities, she's not going to be talking about her brains, is she? Her point is not going to be that as long as you have something of value to contribute to society, like maybe you're a talented musician, or you're a skilled surgeon, or you have a knack for computer science. No, instead...
the Barbie that cured AIDS.
Something like that. So again, actual merit. Instead, it's going to be the same message that Tumblr has been trying to hammer into our heads for the past, 5, 6, 7 years, that
It's
big is... Yeah, that big is beautiful, and that you should be appreciated just for occupying space, just for existing.
Unless you're Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, exactly, because here's the thing, everyone is special unless you're a guy.
Including predictions. My prediction is that this is going to follow the exact same trope that we've seen in just about every other movie lately. I mean, Angry Birds, the Emoji Movie. It's going to be, this person's different, but it's what makes this person different is what's really special about that person. And then you should really, be happy for being different just for the sake of difference, I guess.
Be comfortable in whatever body you're in, and size doesn't matter. It's like, okay, why do you want that to be the message you push? Shouldn't it be, like Max said, that your brains are what is going to matter, not your looks?
Your talents, your merits, anything but, I look different and I should be happy with, you should be happy with where you're at, kind of, though, but I mean, that shouldn't be the focal point of the fucking movie.
Well, the reason it is the focal point is because, number one, Amy Schumer is attached, number two, Lena Dunham is attached, and number three, Amy Pascal of Fembusters fame is attached. So there was no way that this movie could not end up being a flagrant political message, just like in the case of Fembusters.
Here's a question though: if Lena Dunham's attached, is this movie going to be that abortion she wanted?
So, as you can see, Cheshire Cat Podcast is hardly politically correct, and that's great. And I'm surprised that their fans would have a go at them for the Trump inauguration scream clip, because the reason I sought out and found Cheshire Cat Studios Podcast is after I dropped the gaming and film podcast I was watching before that had become politically overridden by, social justice and regressive anti-Gamergate talk about games being problematic and films being sexist. I needed to get rid of those podcasts, and I needed something to replace them that talked about films and culture from a standpoint of, no, these aren't problematic. They're actually fun, and can we just get on with watching the films, please, and look at diversity of thought rather than diversity of, identity and shape and colour and all this nonsense that we're meant to be watching movies for now. And fuck that, I'm not going to watch movies for that reason. Anyway, that's enough for today. I've watched several clips and we're still in January. I might possibly go into the Philip Moriarty and Bering conversation next time, but Jesus Christ, that thing will make me so angry if I try, so I'll see you next time. We'll see what it is.